You're staring at the ceiling again. It's 2 a.m. You kept it together all day, handled the meetings, answered the calls, stayed composed, and still no one knows you're falling apart. They call you strong, but maybe that's just what people say when they've stopped asking if you're okay. You don't look broken. You don't collapse in public. You don't complain. And that's exactly why no one sees it. Because the better you get at hiding it, the less anyone believes there's something worth seeing. You've trained everyone to lean on you, to rely on your silence, to take comfort in your steadiness. But what no one asks is what happens when the pillar starts to crack. You didn't choose this role, it chose you. Not with a contract or a ceremony, but with expectations. Unspoken, constant, growing. You learned early that being needed was safer than being known, that helping others was easier than asking for help, that doing everything right kept the chaos at bay. And so you became the one people trust, the dependable one, the calm one, the one who never makes it about themselves. But here's what no one ever tells you. When everyone leans on you, you don't just carry their weight. You start to forget how to carry your own. The longer you hold it in, the more invisible you become. Not because people don't care, but because they've only ever seen your strength. Not your silence, not your fatigue, not the version of you that sits in a parked car breathing through a wave of exhaustion so thick it feels like grief. They see the mask, the performance, the curated version of you that never flinches, never fails, never falls. And slowly that version becomes the only one even you believe is allowed. You weren't born a pillar, you became one because someone had to, because survival demanded it, because it worked until it didn't, because strength without rest becomes erosion. And erosion has a cost, the kind of cost that doesn't show up in bruises or blood, but in forgetting how it feels to be held, to be soft, to be anything other than dependable. You've been the steady one for so long, you've forgotten what it means to feel uncertain, to be seen, to be known beyond what you do for others. And maybe that's why you're awake tonight, not because something's wrong, but because something inside you is trying to speak and you're finally too tired to silence it. It's not the tasks, it's not the deadlines, it's not even the expectations, it's the silence. The smile you wear when someone asks how you're doing, the tone in your voice when you say, "I'm good," and hope they don't ask again. You carry the kind of weight that doesn't make a sound, but it leaves bruises on your soul. The world sees you functioning, so it assumes you're fine. But inside, something is tightening. Not in a dramatic collapse, just a slow, constant constriction. You move through your day on autopilot, you respond, you assist, you show up. And the world keeps turning because you keep turning with it. But something in you has stopped moving. You brush your teeth in the morning, staring at your reflection, and for a split second you wonder, who am I if I'm not holding everything together? Because the truth is, the burden isn't just what you're doing, it's what you're hiding. The disappointment you don't talk about, the needs you've labeled inconvenient, the feelings you filed under deal with later. Carl Jung wrote, "The persona is a kind of mask, and the danger is that people believe they are what they pretend to be." And maybe that's what happened. Maybe you've pretended so long that even you forgot what lives beneath the mask. You've become the emergency exit everyone runs to, but no one's noticed you're still inside the fire. You've told yourself this is just what life demands, that your needs can wait, that self-care is indulgence, that you're strong enough to carry it all without bending. But lately, the cracks are getting harder to ignore. You forget conversations. You wake up already tired, you laugh at things that don't feel funny. And worst of all, you wonder if this is just how it's going to be. Numb, silent, necessary. But what if it's not? What if the invisible weight isn't your responsibility to carry alone? What if the world didn't end when you said, "I'm not okay"? What if everything didn't fall apart when you took off the mask? And what if beneath all that silence you're not broken? just buried, waiting. You've gotten so good at holding it all together that people have stopped wondering what would happen if you didn't. You're the one they rely on. The one who doesn't crack, doesn't flinch, doesn't fall. The one who keeps showing up no matter what it costs. And for a long time, you took pride in that. You found meaning in being the stable one. You felt safe in the rhythm of doing, organizing, fixing. You told yourself that strength means not needing anything in return, but something's changing, not all at once, not in a breakdown, but in quiet, slow moments when you realize that your life has become a series of responsibilities you never asked for. You still function, you still perform, but your heart feels like it's fading into the background. And here's the part no one sees. You want to rest, you want to be seen, you want to stop just for a while and not be punished for it, but instead you keep tightening your grip, because letting go would mean admitting that you're human, that you have limits, that you have needs, and that's the thing you've spent your whole life trying to outrun. You were taught that emotions are distractions, that rest is laziness, that softness is weakness, so you buried them all, but what you buried hasn't disappeared. It's grown heavier. The longing to be understood, the anger that no one asks how you're doing, the loneliness of being the one who carries the weight, while everyone else leans on you. Carl Jung called this the shadow, not just the dark side of us, but the parts we've disowned to keep the mask intact. And now that shadow is whispering louder. You feel it in the way your chest tightens at random, in the way you shut down when someone gets too close, in the way joy feels distant, like a sound behind glass. You want to be dependable, you want to be capable, but beneath that you want something else, something you've never said out loud. You want someone to notice when you're not okay. You want to take off the mask without losing your worth. You want to be held without first having to fall apart, but you don't believe you're allowed to want those things. Not when you're the strong one, not when people count on you to be fine. And that's the dilemma. You want to be real, but you fear that if you stop being reliable, you'll stop being loved. So you hold the line, you do what's expected, you keep the mask on, but deep down something is unraveling. You've told yourself for years, I'm fine. But what if you're not? What if all the feelings you buried are rising? What if the foundation you built your identity on is cracking? And what if, just beneath the surface, you're not as okay as you pretend to be? You think you've got one more day in you, you don't know it yet, but tomorrow's when the crack finally shows. It starts quietly, a forgotten appointment, a missed call, a moment where your mind goes blank and doesn't come back. Nothing catastrophic, nothing anyone else would notice, but to you, it feels like the beginning of something you can't control. You brush it off, like you always do. You say you're tired, that it's just stress, that it's nothing. But it doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like something's slipping slowly, invisibly beneath the surface of your life. And the scariest part is, you can't name it because everything looks fine. You're still working, still functioning, still smiling, but something in you has gone dim. You wake up in the morning and feel nothing. You sit in conversations and feel separate. You laugh, but it feels hollow. You're not breaking down, you're fading out. And this slow unraveling feels even more terrifying than collapse, because collapse would at least be visible. But this is silent, invisible, undeniable. You start questioning everything. Is this burnout? Is it depression? Is it just what adulthood feels like? You don't know, and you don't have the words to explain it. You just know that something inside is screaming and no one hears it, because you've spent so long being the one who doesn't need help, that even now, at your limit, you still don't know how to ask for it. Carl Jung said, whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event, and this is your event. This is your reckoning. This is the moment when the shadow breaks through the persona. and refuses to be silenced any longer. It's not a dramatic explosion, it's a slow leak of energy, a quiet loss of identity. It's sitting alone in a room you used to love and feeling absolutely nothing. It's forgetting what joy feels like. It's realizing you've become a ghost in your own life. And still, the instinct remains. Hold it in, don't let them see. You're the strong one, you're supposed to have it together. But what if the strongest thing you could do now is let someone in? What if admitting you're not okay isn't the end of who you are, but the beginning of who you could become? Because the pillar is cracking. And maybe that's not failure. Maybe that's the moment the mask finally slips and the truth finally breathes. You were never built to be unbreakable. You just learned to seem that way because breaking felt dangerous, because softness was never safe, because no one ever told you that strength and silence aren't the same thing. So you learned to endure, to push through, to wear your control like armor. And maybe that's what kept you going, but it also kept you from feeling, kept you from asking, kept you from receiving. You've spent so long managing the lives around you that you forgot you had one of your own. You forgot that having needs doesn't make you less, it makes you human. The world told you to be strong, so you were. It told you to be dependable, so you disappeared. It told you to hold it all together, so you never learned how to fall apart safely. But what if everything you've been avoiding, the rest, the softness, the ache, isn't your undoing, it's your way back? Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And this is your darkness, the exhaustion you denied, the emotions you minimized, the sadness you carried in silence because you didn't think you had permission to speak it. But here's the truth, you don't need permission to feel. You never did. You don't need to hit a breaking point to be worthy of rest. You don't need to collapse to deserve care. You don't need to explain your pain in perfect language for it to matter. You've carried the world for so long. But when did you decide that you were the exception to tenderness? You thought your silence was keeping everything together, but maybe it's what kept you from being seen. You thought your stillness was strength, but maybe it was survival, and survival is noble, but it's not a destination. You were meant to live, to feel, to soften, to rest your shoulders and admit without shame. This is heavy. You can be tired and still be strong. You can ask for help and still be whole. You can cry and still be respected. Because strength isn't how much you suppress. It's how deeply you can feel without turning away. And the truth is, what you feel, you can heal. But only when you stop pretending you don't. You're not just what you carry. You are not the sum of how reliable you've been, how much weight you've held, how many times you said, I'm fine, when you weren't. You've lived like a pillar, stoic, unmoving, necessary. And maybe for a time, that saved you. Maybe it gave you purpose, maybe it kept the world from collapsing, but you are not stone, you are not structure, you are a person, and you're allowed to be seen. Carl Jung said to confront a person with their shadow is to show them their own light. And this is your light, not the spotless image others admire, but the truth that flickers behind your tired eyes, the truth that you can still be strong without holding everything alone, the truth that you can be both the one who helps and the one who hurts, the one who leads and the one who rests, the one who carries others and the one who's finally ready to be carried too. Healing doesn't mean stepping away from responsibility. It means stepping into it more fully with your whole self, and not just the part that performs, not just the part that pleases, not just the mask, but the person. And that person, they've earned rest, they've earned softness, they've earned the kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself anymore. You can let go of the weight without letting go of who you are. You can take off the mask without losing your place. Because your worth isn't in how well you hide, it's in how bravely you return. You were never meant to carry the world forever. You were meant to carry yourself whole, integrated, alive. The world leaned on your strength. But healing begins when you lean to, no longer hiding, no longer proving, just here, fully,